Some developing news. The Senate has tonight passed the government's coronavirus economic stimulus package. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg is due to hold a press conference shortly to give further details. We'll bring you that as soon as it happens. There have been more scenes that would have been hard to imagine before the coronavirus crisis began. Long queues forming outside Centrelink branches across the country as people lose their jobs and look to the government for help. At midday, businesses including pubs, clubs, cinemas and gyms shut their doors, and cafes and restaurants could only serve takeaway. Schools have also shut down and we won't reopen until next term in some states, as well as the queues at Centrelink. The MyGov website has crashed. The share market has lost another $100 billion, with banks and industrial companies among the biggest to fall. In the words of the Prime Minister, for many Australians, it's becoming the toughest year of our lives.
They're like scenes from the Great Depression. Block after block and around corners across the country, long queues of Australians trying to access support.
It's like watching a horror movie on TV, except it doesn't finish in 90 minutes. It just goes on day after day.
There's no divide between city and country in this crisis.
We just need some help to get through this time.
Hours in a line doesn't seem like social distancing, but many don't have a choice and are accessing this safety net for the first time after losing work.
I'm a personal trainer, so I've been going from 30 sessions a week to 0 sessions a week. So basically, I don't have any more income.
I run a cafe, and at this current stage, we're going to have to close our doors. I have rent to pay, I have bills.
When the clock struck midday, New South Wales switched over into its new way of life. Businesses forced to close in an effort to stop the spread of the virus.
That's pretty scary because I do have a mortgage, I do have a car loan as well, HECS to pay, everything, yeah.
But it's a tale of two sets of rules. Just next door, a hair salon not required to close. Shutdowns are happening in every suburb.
We've been here since 1978, and for people to be affected in this way is just absolutely unbelievable.
Even if businesses aren't forced to shut, a drop in demand means some will struggle. Hearts are weighing heavy.
I'm pretty devastated. It's been everything to get to this point.
Last drinks came and went at bars, even in the bush. And the only thing sadder than a pub with no beer is a pub with no patrons.
A pub's more than just a place to come and have a beer. I've got plenty of people that actually say to me it's much cheaper to come here and have a couple of beers than what it is to go to the psychiatrist.
So we purely trade on entertainment. We have no food, takeaway service, we have no bottle shop, so that's us.
Queensland has announced it's shutting its border. It's flagged exemptions for border communities, but there's still no detail.
It's very confusing because there are people which travel north and south, and when they get this message, they're going to say, well, what am I going to do tomorrow?
With the situation changing so quickly every day, lining up seems to be the only constant.
I've got older parents at home that no one allowed to get them out of the house, so we're doing the shopping for them.
And no one knows when things will return to normal. Jonathan Hare, ABC News, Sydney.
And the closure of Queensland's borders will begin in 48 hours. But as the state grapples to control the spread of the virus, schools will remain open, prompting the Teachers' Union to threaten strike action.
In these desperate times, every and any measure is on the cards. Queensland's borders are about to close, effective by the final hour on Wednesday night.
People's lives are being completely turned upside down.
From Thursday morning, anyone flying into the state will have to self-quarantine for 2 weeks. Road closures are expected too. Freight will be exempt.
Stay in your state and stay in your suburb.
The exact details of how the restrictions will affect those living on the border are yet to be explained, but authorities are struggling as the number of cases in Queensland skyrockets. Overnight, the highest jump to date, with 60 new cases, bringing the state's tally to 319.
We know we're going to get those increased cases. What we need to do, though, is absolutely minimise ongoing transmission.
But that hasn't extended to schools, causing contention among teachers, parents and the union.
We need to have them open for a number of reasons: to continue their learning, to provide the education for those workers that we require in the workplace at the moment.
We believe that when you put 3,000 children together in a school, that's going to create a circumstance where people will be worse off.
Those working in schools who might be most at risk of the virus have been told to talk to their principals. The union says strikes will go ahead if schools have to remain open.
Our workforce is significantly older than many, and with an average age of close to 50, it's something where there is a significant number of teachers who would be in the 60-plus category.
Among the latest cases, a parent of a Brisbane girls' grammar student. The school closed today as a precaution. St Margaret's was closed too after 3 parents tested positive.
I'm sure the risk is very low to the school. However, I just had not heard that directly from Queensland Health, and I thought I could close the school for one day.
Contact tracing is also underway at this busy city office tower on George Street after a state government worker tested positive last week. With the situation changing so rapidly, every day sees a whole new raft of measures tougher than the last. While the state government has the power to call off the by-elections and council elections this weekend, it still wants them to proceed. Thousands of voters and volunteers will hit polling booths on Saturday. Josh Bavis, ABC News, Brisbane.
And the imminent closure of the Western Australian border has caused travel chaos from one end of WA to the other. Along the 1,600-kilometre-long air highway, hundreds of motorists are making a dash for it. The stream of grain nomads and backpackers have until tomorrow afternoon to make it across or face 2 weeks in self-isolation, either in South Australia or in Western Australia.
The rapid spread's incredible. Who would have thought in our lifetime that we'd be scrambling to get home from one end of the country to the other. It's amazing.
We don't want to go home because in Holland it's worse with the coronavirus, because it's a small country. That's more risk than to stay here, and it's more beautiful.
Well, in the Kimberley near Kununurra, the story is the same, with travellers racing to find a safe haven. The new border restrictions will not apply to essential services like freight transport. Concerns have eased over a cruise ship set to dock in Fremantle tomorrow morning, which had sparked concerns it was at the centre of a coronavirus outbreak. The MSC Magnifica had told authorities it had 298 ill passengers over the past 14 days. But in a statement tonight, the WA government says it's been informed by MSC Cruises that all passengers and crew are well or don't suffer from any respiratory diseases. The cruise vessel will make a refuelling stop at Fremantle tomorrow morning, but no passengers nor crew will disembark. The rapid shutdown of many non-essential services has seen tens of thousands join the ranks of the unemployed, many for the first time in their lives. It happened so fast, government computers and phone lines couldn't cope with the demand.
The first symptom of an economic pandemic.
I'm here because my job no longer exists.
It's not just lower class, middle class or high class. Everybody's getting affected by it.
Thousands lining up outside Centrelink offices across the country.
You can feel it. Everyone's a little bit funny and on edge.
Everyone's anxious. No one knows what's going on.
Joining the job queue, many for the first time.
They are lining up at Centrelink offices as we speak. Something unimaginable at this scale only weeks ago.
Livelihoods extinguished by the coronavirus shutdown.
I'm at the stage now where I'm on the scrap heap because I'm 64 years old.
Anxieties heightened when they couldn't get help online.
MyGov has not been offline.
The minister wrongly insisting the website was operational, but overwhelmed by a malicious cyber attack, a claim he was forced to retract an hour later.
The DDoS alarms show no evidence of a specific attack today.
This wasn't a cyber attack, it was an incompetence attack.
The government has promised to boost capacity online and extend call centre hours to keep up with demand.
For many, young and old, 2020 will be the toughest year of our lives.
MPs gathered in reduced numbers, sanitised and spaced at a healthy distance to pass tens of billions of dollars in emergency measures, including income support. Younger Australians have long been told they're the lucky ones. Well, hardship has come knocking. The government expects the coronavirus crisis will see 1 million Australians lose their jobs over the next few months, more than doubling the unemployment rate to about 11%. And it's already banking on having to spend an extra $40 billion by August to further prop up the economy. A new normal has come suddenly.
Obviously, a lot of people throughout the whole of Australia that are in the same boat as me. So just keep my chin up.
Andrew Probyn, ABC News, Canberra.
Well, Tasmania has 6 new cases of coronavirus, bringing the tally to 28. Authorities say all cases became infected prior to their return to the state, with 4 being passengers on the Ruby Princess cruise ship. Despite the rising tally, the state's government's keeping schools open. Attendance rates have fallen to just over 70%. And there's been lots of uncertainty facing parents and students across the country. In Victoria, school holidays have started early, but as you've heard, states like Tasmania and Queensland are keeping schools open. In New South Wales, the Premier's instructions appeared at odds with the Prime Minister's.
A splintered message.
Children should go to school tomorrow.
We'll be encouraging parents to keep their children at home,
with the Premier's updated advice issued during this morning's school drop-off, leaving parents perplexed.
Well, I guess I'll be going upstairs and just checking and then possibly taking my child home.
What do you listen to? Should I listen to the principal here or the Premier or the Prime Minister? Who?
While schools will remain open, parents are now being urged not to send their children for the rest of the term.
What we're seeing is absolute confusion, and against that backdrop, what we will have is chaos in our schools.
The Premier says the reasons are pragmatic and not due to health concerns.
For teachers, it means 1 unit of teaching. There won't be a separate class for kids at home. There won't be a separate class for kids that are at school.
1 in 3 parents is already keeping their kids at home. For those that can't, schools will stay open for now.
Because at the moment I'm working at Woolies, so we need to be there for everyone else.
His dad works at RPA and I'm setting up phone lines for the coronavirus hotline, so we need him to go to school.
The move comes as New South Wales records the biggest 24-hour increase in new coronavirus cases. Of the new infections, 1 was at this childcare centre in Sydney's east, but it's unclear whether it was a worker or a child. According to the New South Wales government, parents shouldn't pull their young children out of childcare, but should keep their school-aged children at home. It's prompted the opposition to question why there's 1 set of rules for students, another for toddlers.
There must be a definite position, a clear, concise position from the Premier, and we're not getting that right now. Schools, TAFE colleges, childcare centres must close this week.
Schools are now contacting parents and students, letting them know how to access online lessons. Learning how to navigate the virtual world is the latest frontier in a fast-moving pandemic. Amy Greenbank, ABC News, Sydney.
As Australia